Hello and welcome to That Man, That's My Merchandise, and this is a light novel. Yes, today we are looking at That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, written by Fuse. Now, this one is, at the time of recording this, it's actually going to be starting in 3 days. So I'm going to try and get this, hopefully by the time this is up, it's out, so you can watch the first episode, because it's one that I'm being really hyped. Well, I say really hyped for. The past few light novel ones I've been reading, the anime adaptations have been but this is a light novel about a guy who is killed and is reborn as a slime. Now, his death quote is probably one that's going to be memed all over the place, because he basically dies, and his dying words is just like, just go into my house and destroy my computer's history or something like that, and delete my browsing history. And I'm just like, how many is there? That could be identifying with a lot of people. But yeah, the guy Satoru Mikami, I hope I pronounced that right. He dies, he's got like a dead-end job. He's actually an older protagonist as well. He's like actually 37, so it's nice to have a character that is a little bit older, because like I said, a lot of these are like young boys. He's dead-end job, he's not popular with the girls. He ends up getting stabbed in a hit and run, and he is reborn as a slime. Now, this is a lengthy book, and I'm assuming this is going to take us up to like the first 5 or 6 episodes. There's quite a bit goes on. So the slime is reborn. He can't even see. He's just shuffling around, and he ends up getting. He's kind of got this voice in his head, and he's just like. Basically, when he's dying, he's like, "Oh, I'm in pain," and it's just like, and it starts going nullifying pain, and it's just going, "Oh, I wish I didn't have this like body," and it's like nullifying body and stuff like that. So he's kind of, and he's just like, "Oh, I wish I could use all of the stuff I knew here," and it's just like, "Sage activated." So you do get a lot of that RPG mechanics where it's kind of the voice in my head, much like the one I'm going to refer to is another one I did a review on a few months ago, was So I'm a Spider, So What, and I did mention that I would be covering this at that time, and it's kind of like that way. It's kind of, there is a lot of talking between the game kind of world and stuff like that. So he kind of ends up as this slime, and he can absorb stuff, and he's reborn in basically he is born in the final dungeon, and he kind of starts collecting all of these like this medical herbs. So he's getting like all of the end game gear and stuff like that at the very beginning, like for in terms of like, for example, like Dragon Quest or like The Witcher and stuff like that, where you can mine and get platinum stuff and all that. It's like, this is like the end game loot drops and stuff like that he's getting. Not weapons though. And as he's doing that, he comes across a powerful being. At first he doesn't know who it is. They're just having a normal chat, and then the powerful being gives him the ability to see, and he then finds out that the being he's been talking to is a powerful dragon who's been chained up long ago by the hero. And they come to an agreement and say, the dragon's like, "I'm quite lonely, I've been down here for this long." And he's like, "Yeah, I can understand why the hero did what they did in order to seal me away. And I'm just lonely." And then the slime's just like, well, because he's got this powerful ability, and he's just like, "Oh, I'll absorb you, and I'll let you free," and stuff like that, because the slime can't do that. And then it's like, this has a whole thing where it's just all of a sudden this dragon disappeared, and it's such a powerful thing that it kind of shook the entire world, and the monsters and all of the kingdoms are starting to reflect on that, because where the dragon is was kind of like this central area where it's they're kind of just being like, yeah, it's nobody goes there, it's this is where the dragon is, and yeah, just in case, and all the powerful monsters are there. So yeah, this slime kind of absorbs him. So yeah, it is an overpowered protagonist, which we have seen quite often, but it's done in a different way. I think it's interesting, which is something I will come to a little bit later, because yes, he is overpowered, and he does start taking on some of these creatures like in this dungeon, and he's just one-shotting them, and he's taking their powers. So yeah, that is something that is interesting. So if you like your overpowered protagonist, you will enjoy this. So he escapes the labyrinth. On the way, he comes across a few heroes who kind of like are sent to discover why this dragon, because at the end of the day it's a labyrinth, so it's the end dungeon, so as you can imagine it takes them some time to get out of it. And yeah, he comes out of it, and he's almost immediately thrown into a battle between the goblins and the direwolves, and he ultimately ends up negotiating a peace treaty between them. And because these goblins realise that this slime is really powerful, and they're like, at first, oh, it's a slime, everyone else just thinks, oh, it's a slime, and then they're just like, wow, it's powerful. And he starts naming them, because it's like, oh, well, I'm in charge of this, it's going to be too difficult to become Goblin 1, Goblin 2, and stuff like that. And then they're like, he starts naming them, using up a lot of magic power. Now, if you've played RPG, you will know that like stuff World of Warcraft or Xenoblade is another popular one that I immediately started liking this one too. And you will know that it's kind of, you name a named enemy is more powerful than a normal one. So he's sitting there naming all of these goblins and stuff like that, and the goblin race ends up becoming stupidly powerful. Now, it is a little bit pervy, the series is a little bit pervy, and it's kind of mixed in with other stuff, but what this series really shines at is the world building, because it is literally world building. The slime is just like, well, I'll start building a little thing for the goblins, and we'll make things better, and we'll start having like houses instead of little mud huts, and we'll build a like with against the direwolves, like he builds like a fence around it, and he teaches the goblins how to fight smart rather than how they would normally. And yeah, you can see a lot of world building. Now the characters at the moment are kind of the goblins are fun. There's one Gobter who actually gets his own little spin-off story at the end of this, and yeah, they're kind of like okay, there's nothing amazing about them, whereas I felt the other hand, the spider one, where the characters were the focus and the world was kind of well, this is like literally building a town, building everything. And I read the first 2 or 3 volumes of this before it was licensed, and I was just like, I love this. And I stopped as soon as they announced this came out, like they announced the licenses first. And I was just like, I'm going to pick it up, and I picked it up ages ago, and I hadn't read it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to read it for the anime again. And honestly, it was so good. Honestly, if you like the anime, read this. It is so in depth. I've only covered a little bit, because this also has the goblin arc. It has the first arc. It's also got the dwarf arc, where he goes to visit the dwarves. It's got the side stories for the girl who is possessed by Ifrit, and it has the ultimate fight between them, the Rimuru, the slime, and Ifrit. And so other characters do appear later on. We do get a lot of more fan servicey. It's kind of harem, but it's also not. It's more like that everyone looks up to him, but there's none of that sexual thing. But there is some kind of TNA, which will put some people off when it appears, because they're like, oh, well, this was all serious, and oh my god, there's boobs, and you know what it's kind of like. But it's not overly serious. It kind of does have a lot of jokey stuff. I'm very interested to see how this is going to turn into an anime. I did read the first the first manga when they released it, and it does go through things a lot quicker than this does, like reading the light novels. So I hope that we do get a decent anime from it. I'm hoping, because as soon as I read this, I was like, yeah, volume 2 and 3, I'm going to have to order them. And since then I've read this. I actually read this before the vending machine. I'm like reading Goblins here, because that's another one out soon and I need to read it. But Yeah, honestly, you can do a lot worse than reading this. It's a fun title. If you like world building, you're probably going to have a bit of fun with it. But if not, oh well. And that's all I'm going to leave it with. Definitely worth reading it, definitely worth checking it out, especially if you do start to enjoy the anime. And that's it from me. Thanks for coming, and thanks again for staying. Stay awesome. Goodbye. Did you enjoy that? Well, we've got some other stuff on the site if you want to have a little bit of look. Nendoroids, gaming, One Piece merchandise, it's all kind of there. So if you click around here, you'll be able to subscribe or at least have a look on the channel. Also, there's some other things just around here. Thanks for coming, and thanks again. Goodbye.